Hello everyone, Michael O'Brien here, and today I want to give a shout out to all of my perfectionists. Hello my friends, and welcome back to another Advice for Magicians video where my goal is to help make you the best possible entertainer that you can be. Now in today's episode, I wanted to talk about this crippling disease known as perfectionism, right? I want to talk about what it is exactly and what we can do to overcome it. Now, I know a lot of people. I have a couple of really close friends. I won't name names, of course, but I have a couple of really close friends who kind of have this problem where they feel like if their act, if their performance isn't exactly perfect, that they're not ready to go out and perform it, right? I even have a friend that's been working on material. I've gone over to his house and we've put together an act and we have it laid out on camera so he can watch it back and everything, and it just looks so good, and he's like, no, I don't like it. He takes the whole thing apart and then it's been like 7 years and he doesn't have like a show put together yet. So it's one of those situations where it just really hurts to not be able to go out and do the thing that you love because you feel like it's just not where you want it to be. So we're going to talk about all of that stuff in this video right after these announcements. If you haven't already done so, please make sure to click the subscribe button and don't forget to ring that bell. That way you know every time I upload a new video. If you'd like to support the channel for just $1 a month, consider clicking the join button and become a Mob Squad member. Members will get access to a bunch of really cool stuff, including tutorials, early access to videos, emojis, badges, and even discounts at O'Brien Magic Shop. All of that stuff for just $1 a month. I'll even shout you out right here on the channel. So ladies and gentlemen, let's please welcome some of our newest members. Please say hello to Daniel Franklin and Mig Zapp. Thank you guys so much for becoming members. It's because of you. It's because of all of my subscribers and everyone else who watches these videos every single time I upload them that I am able to keep these channel going. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for all of the love and support. It really means a lot to me. So let's talk about this a little bit because this is a really serious thing. I kind of had this problem for a little bit towards the beginning as well. And then I learned this one simple thing, which is it doesn't matter necessarily if it's perfect in your mind. What you want to do is you want to go out anyway and you want to start performing, because what's going to end up happening, what happened with me and what happened with so many other performers, is that they go out, they have an idea of what they want to perform in their head, they've worked out the handling, the trick looks great, they have pattern to it and everything like that, and they go and they do the trick and it fails, and then they change it a little bit, and then they go and do the trick again and it's still kind of bad, and then they change it a little bit, and then they go out and they do the trick, and then they go out and do the trick, and then they go out and do the trick, and they go out and do the trick, and they do it 100 times, and from the first time to the last time that they did it, that 100th time, the trick has been completely changed, right? It's undergone such an evolutionary process. And the reason is because you're putting real world practice into what it is that you're doing, right? So you're actually going out there, you're doing test and adjust, right? Your trick is under construction pretty much always. This is a truism that I have discovered, right? There are pieces of magic in my act to this day that are constantly changing, right? Even just a couple weeks ago, there was something that I've been doing in my act for years, and I decided, you know what? I want to try something a little bit different. The reactions were a little bit different. I decided, you know what? I think this is the way that I'm probably going to start doing it now. So there's a lot of things that will happen, but you just got to go out there and do it, right? You can only stick to the drawing board for so long. You stay there and you're working out the mathematics of the thing, and you're crunching the numbers, and you're writing everything out, and you're doing it over and over again in your head, right? You're not going to have it there until you actually go out and practice. Now, for those of you who have been following my channel for a while, you already know that for me, perfect practice is done in 3 steps. Step number 1, you break down the individual technique, right? So if you have the individual technique already ready to go, each individual move, you can perform them really well, the trick doesn't fall apart, all that good stuff. Now you're ready to move on to part 2. Part 2 is putting the routine together. Now this is the part that a lot of people get stuck on, right? They feel like it has to be perfect, and if it's not perfect, then they cannot move on from step 2, okay? What you want to do is you want to have a coherent performance that you're able to go out and perform that makes sense. Now it doesn't have to be perfect, but it makes sense, right? You go out and you start working the routine, which brings us to part 3 now. Part 3 is you actually go out and practice performing the trick in front of people, right? So step 1, you perfect the individual technique. Step 2, you put the whole act together, you run it from start to finish, you're able to perform the routine the way that you want it to be performed, right? And then part 3, you go out and you perform it for real people. That's the only way that you're going to discover yourself. You're going to discover your character. You're going to discover what works, what doesn't work. You're going to work out your angles. You're going to notice, hey, I can't really perform this at this moment because the guy over here is looking at my hand at the exact wrong time and I need to misdirect that. And you won't be able to figure any of that out unless you go out and practice, right? So, moral of this whole story is, your routine doesn't have to be perfect, right? And this doesn't just go for magic. This goes for anything, right? I'm a YouTuber. I sit here and I make these videos where I sit here and I talk to the camera and stuff like that. In the beginning, when I was first making these videos, I had everything set like this little thing here. If this wasn't exactly where I wanted it, and I could be halfway through the video when I'd look over and I'd see that, and I would cut the whole video and I would do the whole thing again, right? Maybe if I fumble out my words or something like that, I'd be like, dang it. And I would cut the video and I would start all the way from the very beginning again, right? I've learned to embrace some of these mistakes. It's okay. No one is perfect. I embrace these little mistakes and I power through it. And the only reason is because, what will end up happening, see, there it went just there. Did you see that? Did you catch that? What'll end up happening is I'll do this video 20 times. I'll end up hating every single take, and then I'll just scrap it and I'll be like, you know what? I'm just not going to do this video. I'll go to the next one. And now this video never gets put out to the public and you guys never get to see this video, right? It's happened to me multiple times. So the moral of the story here, the one thing that I want you guys to take home from this video is I want you to do your best to put together a good piece of magic, but it is super, super important that you go out into the real world and you start practicing it. You start running it. You start performing it for real life, breathing human people, right? Because you're never going to get better. Your trick is never going to evolve if you're just looking at that blueprint and wondering what the heck is wrong with it. What you need to do is you need to go out into the real world. You need to practice it, because then you can do that test and adjust. Like I said, your magic effect is always going to be under construction, and it's your job as a performer to make sure that you are putting on the best possible performance for your audiences. And the only way that you're ever going to do that is if you go out and perform the thing. Don't get stuck on whether or not it's the perfect masterpiece out of the gate. Just trust that you will improve with every single repetition.